I'll call to order the November 8th, 2023 at 7 p.m. meeting. Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we get an approval from
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from October 11th.
Second.
motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes from the October 11th meeting? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Treasurer's report.
Okay, that didn't
What was
work.
that?
Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, treasurer's report is on the third page of your packet if you want to follow along in person. Otherwise, Pam has it up on the screen as well if your eyesight is really good. Starting at the top for our cash flow, our beginning balance in our checking account was $74,611, less our October expenses of $6,816. And then we added revenue of $1,480 for an ending balance in our checking of $69,274. And then moving down to the next section of our assets, so we've got $429,129 in our investment accounts, leaving the township with total assets of our checking plus our long-term investment assets of $498,404. And then in the middle section there, in your packet, it's kind of a large gray line, and on the screen, it's the blue line. So our expenses and revenue in the middle of the page there. Our expenses for the month of October are down $23,456. And this is due to, last year we were paying the city of St. Paul Park for our police and fire protection, and now we just use the county, so saving $25,000 due to that. And then our revenue, pretty de minimis here, up $500 year over year, and the majority of that was just due to higher permit revenue. We've got more folks in the township putting in building permits, etc. And then scrolling to the bottom of the page, our full year budget. So to date, we've spent $179,615 on a full year budget of $187,016. Leaving us for the rest of the year for November and December, about $7,400. I anticipate we will overspend this slightly. We already have $5,000 of payments for November. And then last year, December alone came in about $7,500. So I expect we'll go over a little bit on our expense budget. However, on the flip side, our revenue, year to date, we've collected $141,000 on a budget of $187,000. Leaving $45,000 of revenue uncollected, but we still have our second half property taxes to collect, and the first half of those were $55,000. So I expect we'll exceed our revenue budget as well by about $10,000, hopefully. And so that should leave us pretty close for the full year, hopefully with just a couple $1,000 surplus, but otherwise right on budget. Any questions for me?
No, but thank you.
I'll make a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I'll second it. All in favor? say
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion, we pay the bills, $4,987.95 for November.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Planning Commission report.
I think I'm the only one here.
Oh, that's okay.
Luckily, it was a short meeting, so we didn't have too much to say. It's not nice. We had a short,
I think you just gotta hold it for a while till it comes on.
It's on.
What's his on? Talk straight into it.
We had a short meeting. There were only 3 of us at the meeting. And the main thing we did was we are recommending that you approve the accessory building for Tyler.
You're Tyler?
And then we tabled the other item, which was the mining permit, until the next month.
We don't have that on the minutes, do we?
Yeah, but,
Tyler's,
yeah, it's coming up here somewhere, probably new business.
It's a new
somewhere.
business, yep.
oh, Schalke permit? Okay. The next town board meeting will be Wednesday, December 13th at 7 PM. The next planning commission meeting will be Monday, December 11th at 6:30 PM. Any other reports? Cemetery or something?
We and Pam got one, we didn't get it on here, that LRIP funding. I don't think it's on here anywhere, is it?
No.
Pam and I went, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, there's a state program where they're giving out money. It's called Local Road Improvement Plan Funding. It was given by the state. Me and her went to a meeting up in Stillwater on that. And basically, we're both on the way home, and they didn't tell us we wouldn't qualify, but they sure didn't say we would qualify. We had about a 2% chance probably, huh, Pam?
If that.
And, you know, we didn't know how this was working going into it, because the program said he needed a county sponsor, but we didn't know what the county would do. Well, the county don't do much. They put their name on it, but we'd have to hire an engineering firm to design the road, put in the application to the state and all this, and they said, well, that'd probably only cost you $5,000–6,000. Well, we both thought $5,000–6,000 is on. Like I said, they were very nice to us. The county has always been very nice to us. But they pretty much made it out. The only criteria we had, we were using road of significance. Because our road goes, yeah, there was about 10 different criteria. And that was a part of one of them. And long story short, we don't recommend spending the $5,000 and going after it. So the LRIP thing is finished.
What would it give us?
They would have paid to redo Island Drive from the end of 75 down to past your house.
Get rid of the crowning and slippage and everything?
Well, you'd have to be designed and all that stuff. Yeah, they'd redo it like a normal road, yeah. But the chances of getting the money were, might as well buy $5,000 worth of lottery tickets. So,
Do you have the money already for a coming-year road?
well, I'll let Dan talk about that.
We'll talk about that further
Yeah,
down.
That's next.
That's in, yep.
That's next.
Okay.
We're on unfinished business.
Well, actually,
It's on B, so. Somebody wants us to change the town board meeting from 7 PM to 6:30.
We talked about that last time, didn't we, or what happened there?
Hey, you guys all approved it, but then I asked about Keisha. She wasn't at the meeting, so, or she left. Anyway, I texted her after the meeting and asked her if a start time of 6:30 is okay with her, and she said yes. So I'm bringing it back just to have it approved.
Okay. Okay, I'll make a motion,
I like 7.
I like 7 also.
You guys said 6:30 last month.
I don't think.
I didn't.
I think we said we would wait, just table it, but
Well, we'll leave it at 7. Withdraw my partial motion.
Pam, I said that last month.
We can watch the video, roll the tape.
You want your roll tape?
No. I don't wanna see
All right,
it.
okay.
Seven.
Okay.
We're gonna stay at 7.
Stay at 7. Took care of that. Now it's,
All right, so roads, well, that was one of the things we were waiting on to find out with that funding. So what we're working on is trying to find somebody to help engineer Pioneer. We looked at a few different options. We got some prices to do the roads, but bidding equal to equal is just kind of different. So we're in the process of hiring somebody to help us core out the road and then get prices for design. And our intent is to try and be able to do Pioneer Road next year. That's our intent to do, is to be able to pave that. So we're hoping by maybe March-ish to be able to, March area to be able to lock somebody up for a bid. So that's good.
Should-
Yeah.
should-
Just be filling holes.
No, we're gonna whole tear it up, mill it, overlay. We kind of went at first we were doing the route of what's it cost to just have somebody come do it, and then the different bids all had different kind of, everyone wanted to do something different. So we're thinking to spend a little bit. The first prices we had to engineer were close to 50 grand to get it all done. So we kind of were back and forth on is it worth spending that or not. But I think we need to know that everybody's bidding and putting it in correctly. So we're going to look to hire somebody to come in and give us a scope so everyone bids it equally, and then go that route. And the dirt portion will still say gravel, or the gravel portion will still say gravel. It'll just be the Y all the way to blacktop, complete tear up, and that culvert might have to get redone. We'll have to look at that. But I don't think mailboxes or any of that stuff will be affected. It's just gonna stay the 19 feet that it basically is right now. So.
want me to go over how surprised we were with the prices? How sticker shock we got?
We had some bids, had a couple prices come in from 150,000 to 180,000.
162.
162, yeah, to do the roads. But then we recommended, I guess, wanting to try and get engineering and stuff, and there were some prices up to 350 to 500,000 basically to do the whole shebang. So we're gonna try and do as much of the engineering part as we can ourselves, but we wanna make sure we don't, that the base is good and meeting all the standards. So we're gonna try and,
I'm assuming part of the reason that it broke up so late this year is because last year the trucks were coming down.
definitely, yeah. I mean, it's old, it's at the end, but all those weighted trucks coming in, and yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, yeah. It's ready to be redone,
Yeah.
yeah.
I agree.
And we don't even know, I mean, it could, when we bore it, we could find out that the base layer might even still be good. You never know, it could just be the top, but we'll be in the process of that. I doubt it, it's old, but yeah,
Yeah,
so,
it's been patched up a lot.
yep.
Give people an idea how much this costs. Like I say, Dan got 2 prices. One was 162, one was 180 something. But they weren't inclusive. They didn't talk about the base, shoulder, and finishing and that. Well, then we thought, well, what about an engineer? Then he got an engineer. Well, after we talked, we said, well, this is probably gonna be 230, 40,000. After he talked to the one woman, she said, you're looking at probably 300,000. Ooh, but then I got to thinking, when the trail was done, to the left, we got the Y, the county did that for us, between our part and St. Paul Parks, that cost was 320,000, and that was in 2020. And that blacktop part of Pioneer is longer than the trail is by a little bit. So it's expensive, let's just put that in. And then me and Pam we had a joint township meeting with all the other townships around. We asked them, how do you do your roads? Every one of them said the same thing. Get it engineered, get it soil tested to make sure you got someone who knows what they're doing. So that's what Dan's working on. But, you look at that and what would you have, $500,000 in the bank? And if that's looking at $400,000 to do one road, you kind of got an idea.
Yep,
Hey, Dan,
but the prices aren't going down
No.
on
No.
anything anymore.
That's why we made the adjustment with the policing and all that stuff to try
Yeah.
and, so it's gonna take a few years to get on the right track, but.
And we did increase our budget this year, what, 40,000?
Yeah.
Along with part of the increase from the police fund, so we're heading in the right direction very slowly.
Okay.
Yep.
you mentioned engineering. What are you looking at for engineering? As far as the crew, or what are you doing for the work?
We've got, well, what I'm finding out is that I'm probably gonna try and find somebody and just sub out a boring sample to get that. And then once we get a boring sample, then we can provide that. But to do a whole package, like one of the ones we just wanted, it's either all or none. They wanna come in, do drainage studies, do all this other stuff, and it ends up being all that money. And the road is drained fine for all those years, so instead of 70 grand and that kind of stuff. So essentially it's bore it, see what's underneath, give us the MnDOT specs for what we want for gravel, the widths on it, you know, put a plan together with the shouldering on it, just so they have a plan, so we know when we sign a contract, we know what the end result's gonna be.
So if you guys remember back probably 2006, 2008, University of Minnesota they brought their students in and did the engineering work on the culvert, the new bridge. And then 10 years later, they got the funding and they finally did the watershed district, the whole works right.
You know how that bridge turned out, right?
That was
Well,
a lot.
what I'm saying though is, I mean, this is a road, I think it's a little different than, I don't think that's rocket science. But what I'm saying though is the University of Minnesota helped us with the engineering on that, we put the plans together. And it was led by the professor and the students came in and did the study.
Yeah, they had a pretty small culvert. Probably would work better than this one. I mean, that thing's,
I'll see, I'll, yeah.
Right, but I'm just saying,
Yep.
for the road, they may just say, hey, we'll take that study on, we got some kids coming in, I don't know. if the
Yep.
University of Minnesota grades.
Well, part of what we need too is anything we do that's over $175,000 by state law has to be bid out. You have to get 3 bids.
Sure.
So we basically need somebody to design it, engineer it, bid it out, get the bids, oversee it, make sure we get what we pay for.
And this might be something that they do as a project. I know they do.
Yeah.
the engineering students? Oh, that would be,
capstone project.
They do that.
yes.
Colleges do those as part of their
Yeah, the
graduation.
U of M does those caps.
I don't live on that street, I'm sure it'll work out fine. Just kidding. No, good, so that, yeah, there'll be more to come as we get closer to spring on that. And then the other thing with somewhat roads is, the trees. They were gonna start cutting trees beginning of November, but we got a little bit of weather, as everyone enjoyed. So they're, he was thinking middle of next week is probably when we're gonna start mobilizing on that, so. Little delay, but, that'll be Tri-County Tree Service, so. they
Should
will-
I be putting out another note to the town or not?
We
They're
can,
expecting
but,
that.
yeah, you can if you want, yeah. I mean, they're a week behind, it ain't, I would assume people see them cutting trees and they've already read it, but if you
They
want
know
to,
it's
if you want to, you
coming.
can send something out, but, yeah.
I don't want to
Option.
overdo it.
No, I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay.
The next discussion on the, is the permit fees discussion and all sorts of other things.
So we look, Ron? Yeah.
Yeah,
So we looked at, one of the things that we're having problems with is we kind of got problem properties and just some different things going around. And we looked at our permit fee area as something that hasn't been touched in 30 years. So we kind of did some research with other communities around us and nothing's very big jump or anything. Everything is way cheaper than anywhere else. So these were just reasonable things that we kind of came up with for some different costs. So I don't know if you guys, yeah, Pam's got it on the board if there's any discussion on any of that. That's kind of the bigger things like that maybe would be different. The interim use permit, that'll be residential properties. That's a new thing. We used to have CUPs, and then last year we didn't really do anything because we were redoing our ordinances to get them current with what our attorney kind of directed us in. So that'll be kind of a residential properties. We'll be applying for those, and that'll be when you apply in that interim use. Depending on the business, depending on what you're trying to do with your house, it could be an annual permit, it could be a 2-year permit, a 5-year permit. That's going to be up to the planning commission to put a term on it, basically, so that fee would, you know, might be a one-time fee for 3 years or something like that. It just depends on the size of scope of work, but we are a residential area, so that is that. Everything else is, yeah,
Well, I wanna look at these, application for variance, just the application is $100.
yeah, that just covers our fees to do business.
And the variance is, actual variance is $50. Application for mining permit, $250. Mining permit annual renewal, $250. Application for dog license, there's a 20 and a 10. 10 you want, Pam, you wanted to keep it at 10?
I did.
Let me tell you, here's what happened on that. When I sent that to Pam, I thought we were getting dog license every year. If you had a dog, you had to get a license every year. So
No, they're good for,
well, let me finish. They're good for different amounts of time, she said. So I told her, instead of somebody coming in to get a dog license every year for $10, let's just make it 20 and give them a 3-year license. Then she said, well, the license runs with the rabies shots. So,
1, 2, and 3.
yeah, so really that's $10, right?
So you wanna go back to 10?
Well, yeah, yeah,
I think 10's good, because that's what you wanted it to say.
yeah. I was just gonna have them come in every 3rd year instead of every year to get a hound dog license.
And the dangerous dog registration is up to 150. Conditional use looks like 250. Is that
Yep.
what you wanted?
That's just any commercial type stuff, yep. That won't,
Okay, so conditional use is 250. Interim use is 150. Why is there such a difference?
well, conditional use will apply to any commercial type stuff that we allow in our township, and that's gonna be
If
bigger.
somebody's already got a conditional use permit, we're not changing.
There's no conditional use permits issued for any all our residential properties will have interim use permits.
Why do you have it on, I mean, so if we came to you, for instance, you would decide which one we would be?
So, to break it down, Gray Cloud Island is a zoned residential. So we have all our ordinances on things you can do in a residential. If you're trying to do something outside of that in the township, then you would apply and it'll be an interim use permit because you're a residential property. And then depending on that would have different statutes or different things that, if
But
it's a noise
they-
thing, it's,
They already have a conditional use permit.
nobody has a conditional use permit that's
Yes.
current, no. Yeah, no. Yep, we don't, nobody,
Yeah, they returned our check and
Yeah.
said we're holding it until we find out more.
so 2022, nobody had a conditional use permit for residential properties, yeah.
April of 2022.
Yeah.
So in 2024, in the spring, that's when we would, you'd come to apply for whatever you're doing, and then the planning commission will deliberate on it and see what it is, and if it's a haircut, they might say, hey, this is every 3 years we want to see, or whatever. If it's a dog or whatever it is, they'll look at what you're trying to do and what you're doing, and they'll come up to a decision
You'll
on
let
it.
us know when that comes up, or
Yeah, yep,
we just keep bugging?
yeah.
We-
We'll be planning on that for 2024, and then,
It won't be
yeah,
a conditional use permit, it'll be.
it'll be an interim use permit, yep.
So is the CUP just a placeholder in case we decide to rezone?
No, we have one commercial business aggregate, they'll have a CUP, and then if, there's other land, if anything ever came in or something, then it would be, then anything that would be commercially oriented, that would run with the land would be a conditional use permit.
Conditional use stuff is pretty much what you would consider something that's permanent, gonna be there forever, like the antenna tower over here, cemetery, what else did I have? What else do we have under there?
Solar garden,
Solar
yep.
garden, stuff like that, stuff that isn't going away.
Anything else on that?
Nope.
No, I don't have any more questions on
So can we make a motion to approve those?
it. Yeah,
Yeah, go for it.
And then, yeah, we'll just do that $10 for the dog. So I'll make a motion to approve the new permit fees,
I'll sec-
starting January 1, 2024.
yeah. I'll second that.
all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, so, can you guys hear me? I've been tasked with getting bids for revising our ordinances. Not saying that, but we're going to get a company to do it, but I've been tasked to reach out to different companies to see what that might cost us. And I reached out to 4 different companies, the American Legal Publishing, SHC, TKDA, and the Township Attorney. And there's a lot. There's a lot here. But just a short little rundown. American Legal Publishing will charge us $7,000, but we could pay it over 2 years. However, a little further down,
The fine print?
pardon?
The
I
fine
can't-
print?
I
In the
can't-
fine print, yeah, okay,
I
so,
can't read any of that.
also, it would cost us $595 to have them publish it on a web. It's not gonna be on ours, but there would be a link from our website to the ordinances. With this package, we wouldn't get an editable version, so we would never be able to edit ours again. We'd have to go through this company forever to edit our ordinances. So, the next one was SHC. They have 2 approaches. One approach is pretty minimal, focuses on updating the existing ordinance. It's intended to be quick and doesn't solicit public input. Okay? The process would be, the approach is intentionally quick, technical, and does not solicit public input throughout the process until a full code is compiled. So they wouldn't reach out to us, talk to our planning commission about any questions they might have. They've never been to our town. Well, they have to do the comprehensive plan and other things, but they don't know anything about our town. Anyway, to do the approach 1, it would be $25,000 to $30,000. Approach 2 would be to engage us and get meetings with the planning commission and the town board, and that would cost $50,000 to $60,000. So I reached out to TKDA, and they didn't get back to me, but in 2018, we had a bid from them, and at that time, their bid came back as $126 hourly. And what they would do would, their planner would attend planning commission and town board meetings to complete updates as needed. They'd communicate with the township clerk, town board, planning commission, and they would develop draft ordinances to address the township needs, including a review of similar ordinances from other communities. In other words, they just would plagiarize other ones just like we do and put it together and provide it to us. I'm not entirely sure if this is an editable version. I haven't received anything back from them. However, if you go down into TKDA's, the bottom here tells you that it may be $126 per hour, but depending on who they get to do it, the hourly rate changes. And depending on how many people they put toward it, it can get really pricey. So we really don't have
Is this creating a completely new ordinance for us?
it is reviewing and revising our original ordinances.
Oh,
Okay. The last firm I got a hold of is the Township Attorney, Turner and Johnson. They said they do not rewrite or revise ordinances, but if we were to do it, they would definitely review them for us to make sure that they they're legal, and they'll stand water.
Oh,
And
that's
then
good.
One last thing, I just, as on a personal note and not as a clerk, I just would like to add something if I could. The town board and the treasurer have worked really hard this year getting funds or trying to find funds for roads. And to me, I feel like if we're gonna start throwing money into an ordinance, whole ordinance revision that isn't needed, it'd be nice, but it's not an emergency. And we've done it for, I don't know how long, the last how many, 50, 60 years on our own, and we've managed to govern well, doing it ourselves. So,
Pam, I really like that, your thoughts.
okay,
And just so,
I do.
I guess just so you guys know, this all came, planning commission, us, nobody writes ordinances, we're not those people, but we do our best with it. And over the years, there have been some things that have just been added in, and it's kind of a little messy, but trying to clean it up, and that's what do we try and get a professional to come in and help, or do we keep trying to go down the path we're going down? And that's why we're trying to get prices on it, to be able to, hey, is this feasible right now? Is it something I want, a need, to do all that
Well,
stuff.
I completely agree with Pam. Let's not spend the money on it. Good job.
I'd like to add to that too, we don't know how long we're going to be gray cloud. We may be under the ordinances of St. Paul Park or Cottage Grove in the near future. We don't know, why are we gonna spend money on doing,
Loretta.
paying all that money?
that was my next point,
Okay.
that we're not done with Holcim. And are we gonna really spend money that we really might need to hang on to for future?
No, I certainly don't want to spend that.
I'll just add my 2 cents in on this. I don't know how many of our ordinances I could find out for them have been drafted by attorneys. Somewhere, we hired TKDA to do one not too long ago. Our comp plan, that's been, a few things, we've hired it out. So professionals have done it, not just us guys. Okay. And the only one I've heard, there's only been 3 people that complained about our ordinances. One was Eduardo, he don't like them. The other one was the sheriff, and the sheriff didn't like them when we were doing that dog stuff and noise ordinance and that, because he couldn't find them. You know, he was having trouble finding them. Once we redid them ordinances, he was fine. The sheriff was happy. The only other one, 2 that have been complaining about them is me and Pam. Okay, and we're working through them. And the one we're complaining about is right now we're under 2 different zoning ordinances, ours and the county's. We have to follow both, and we'd like them combined. And me and Pam agreed together to work on that, but we put it on hold, because if we were gonna vote to spend $8,000 or $20,000 to have somebody else do that, we weren't gonna spin our wheels. But if we ain't gonna spend $8,000 to $20,000, me and Pam agreed to work on that, combine the 2. So, personally, nobody has shown me what we have, where it don't work. And as we find things wrong, we've been changing them. You know, as we find something, we bring it up to date. And we've even seen stuff, and, you know, and me and her have spent quite a bit of time, probably more than anybody, looking at other people's ordinances. You know, Denmark, Cottage Grove, St. Paul Park, May Township, the other ones. And if anybody thinks you just dive in there and find what you want real quick, it don't happen. You're doing a lot of digging to find what you want. To find something, ours are the simplest to find stuff in, because our ordinance book is fairly thin. In fact, you can probably read all our ordinances in less than 45 minutes. You know, you go to Cottage Groves, you ain't gonna read their zoning ordinance in an hour and a half. You know, so anyway, I agree with Pam.
Can I add something?
Sure.
So when you do decide, I mean, the red lines I looked at in the draft, it looks good. I mean, there's some things that we tightened up and some things I don't like,
Yeah.
but I'm just a resident. So once you guys tighten your things up and before you vote, the attorney will bless that, so we will spend some money.
I haven't brought that up to these guys yet. I was gonna suggest that to them. You know, that's the other, we had our meeting the other
We
night.
always do, yep.
Yeah, and I was gonna suggest to him, well, it even says, you got that book over there, Pam, it's from Minnesota Association of Townships, it's a manual. And it says right in
up
there,
there.
any ordinance change you do, send to your attorney to keep you out of jail or in court. So, yeah, we would
Just my 2 cents on the whole thing, just to summarize, because it's been heated, is it's a deal. You got planning commission, you got other people. We all agree that we could tidy up our ordinances, so none of us are professionals. So you have a handful that, hey, let's just seek out how much does it cost and then weigh your options. And that's kind of where we're at. So now Pam doing that work, getting that, we can present that back with the planning commission, and then we can regroup on it and say, right now, nobody really thinks it's a good idea to spend $10,000-$15,000 at this time, and it's just part of the process to get there. So everybody agreed that we have things to tidy up. So a lot of that stuff, I think it's nice to just see what it costs and then prioritize, and that's what we do. And Pam and Dick, if they're willing to help tidy those things up, that's awesome. It's a lot of work.
The smart thing you guys did was the interim, because that makes it, you guys set conditions as you go. That gets you on that.
yeah.
I can't hear you when you talk. I don't know what you just said. I can't hear you when you talk. I don't know what you just said.
Oh,
All right.
okay, next one is mine.
That's what that's for.
Update the revision of ordinance 49.2. Y'all know we had a public hearing here, when did we have it? A couple days ago? And we didn't have a quorum, so it didn't count. But myself and the people that were here and Pam, we did explain to those who were here what we had up so far. But we have to have another public hearing on that, so we got to schedule another public hearing.
At the planning commission?
Well,
Yeah.
we can
Was
do it
there-
anytime we want.
Is there updates that need to happen before, what came of that? Is there anything we need time for discussion for, I guess? No?
Well, really, the other night, the people that were here, the only one that suggested an update was me, not as a board member, as a citizen.
Yep.
There's 2 things I'm not thrilled with. I don't think anybody else had any updates, did they, that they liked?
Yeah, it's crazy.
But we'd have to have the public hearing again for people to give us feedback. And then I would suggest take it back to the planning commission, let them look at it, and then we'd vote on it. So basically, right now, we got to set a date for a public hearing on it.
That's the next one down, so if that's what you guys want, are you ready to do that?
Yeah, probably.
Are you fine doing a midweek? Because
Sure.
I have hockey that.
We should have it before sometime prior to the next planning commission.
So how about like 28th, 29th, something like that in November?
Yeah. Does that work for you?
Huh?
That work for you, Paul?
If you three here, that's legit.
Ye-
Right, we just need
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to
2 for
have 2
sure.
out of 3. That's a quorum.
So check your calendars really good. Either day works for me.
28th works for you, Dan?
Yep.
Works for me. Actually, that whole week works.
Oh, I got 7 days off of hockey in November, so
Oh.
we gotta pick wisely.
What time then? 6:30 or 6? 6
Well,
was
let's
the
see if
last one.
let's see if it's good for Paul first.
6 o'clock sounds good.
On the 28th,
Yeah.
Dan, is
Yep.
6 okay
Yep.
for you?
All right, that's taken care of.
Is there anything we need to think about, just so we know? If you had public comment we need to think about before that, or not really? Or just discuss it
Really,
there?
No,
Okay.
I really don't have anything to add.
The only one that brought anything up was myself, if you're concerned about that.
I thought we listened to you plenty of months worth.
I think the issue came up on grandfathering, people who have businesses. What's gonna happen with that? So I think that's.
Well, there's,
Let's do that in just a second. How about that?
Well, you
Yeah,
just
yeah.
asked what else
Yeah,
we
right,
want. That
right.
was-
I can, so we can easily, I mean, that's easy to do. So everyone used to apply for CUPs. That's what it used to be. Nothing changes except now it's an IUP. And with the IUP, it's just giving conditions. Odds are, majority of the properties, nothing's ever gonna change. There are some properties around that came in and maybe applied, and let's just say somebody applied for doing something with a car, but then all of a sudden there's 10 cars in their backyard. You know, things that escalate to a portion that's not really residential use. So that's the only thing. There's nobody that's gonna just be denied. None of that would ever happen. The purpose of it is just to make sure it stays within a practicality of a residential neighborhood, and be grateful you're able to do what you're doing in there, but we can't make it a commercial business when you got neighbors. So it's, yeah, there's not really, the idea of the interim use is what it is. You know, if it's a borderline thing, it might be more of a, like, well, Ted's here, so like an Airbnb. You know, that's gonna be an annual permit most likely, because if we get a bunch of complaints, then you got control of it the next year. If it's a hair cutting place, it might be a 3-year lead time, because they just got one person, nobody even knows they exist. You know, so it just depends on the nature of it, but it's no different than the CUP was, and it'll just be the same type of thing.
I think all three of us are pretty much on that same page. If something was going on before, you weren't bothering anybody.
I think the other discrepancy's been these tent things that you call them. I just tell you my position and what we've brought up with planning commission, it's a garage. That's what it is. You buy a tent thing to store stuff in it. It just needs to count as an accessory building on your property. You can't have 10 tents out there. That doesn't work. My intent is that it has to look the part, look nice. You can't have your top all ripped out, just like you can't have a garage shed siding half ripped off and stuff. Nobody wants to look at that. But I think that's been the other thing that maybe's just been misunderstood a little bit. But those types of things, nobody should have to spend, what do you got, 35 grand on a pole barn? Not everyone's doing that, so, yeah.
I did look up the state statute on it. Me and Eric went over that. And on them tents, if they have 2 open sides, they're not considered a building. Once you have 3 closed sides, wasn't that what it was, Eric?
Two open sides or just sides.
Yeah, if you had 3 sides, now it's considered by state building code a building. So we got some leeway there. And again, there's probably close to 30 of them around town. And our view is, what do the people want? Not what we want, but what do the people want, you know? Obviously, they don't want somebody to have, like Dan says, 10 of them all over the yard, you know, I mean, but.
They just gotta, yeah, I mean, you can't set it on a property line, you can't, I mean, it's just stuff. And nobody,
Yeah.
the ones that are there, we don't really get complaints unless they're like shredded or tore up or something. And any reasonable person's gonna understand that's not, you know, nobody wants to look at that, so. Moving on?
Thank-
Yeah.
There should be a list of businesses or uses that should be allowed or covered under each of the CUP or IUP conditions.
I brought that up to him for this reason. I said, we still don't know what an attorney's gonna tell us. And this is where this came up. He might look at our IUP thing has no permitted uses under it. You know, permitted uses, there is stuff. Conditional uses, there's some listing. IUPs, it's blank. And the planning commission, everybody wanted to leave it blank so we could kind of do what we wanted. Now, I don't know what our attorney will tell us. He might tell us, you don't do that, I mean, for whatever reason. Because you look at every other township in the county, and theirs aren't like that. They have uses put in there, and then they'll have a disclaimer how you can put another use in there. If anybody has extra reading time, go to Denmark Township's code, and they have all these, and they have a great big table there that's probably got 30 different, they got all kinds of uses, and then a chart over here, which zoning district they fit in or they're not allowed. So be curious, that's one thing I'm kind of curious if he says, you know, you're setting yourself up for trouble, or, no, it's fine for you guys to do that. That's part of the reason for sending it to him.
And our thought process on that is either the planning commission and us trying to do this ordinance, either we try and think of every single thing that we want to allow, or we leave it in a manner that we're willing to let you guys bring whatever idea you have, and if it's a reasonable idea and it works, then great, let's let it happen, and if it's not, then don't. But if we limit to just what we list, then, you know, it's hard to have leeway or hard to have any of that. So it's not, the things we put are just general ideas, but it's literally anything that doesn't fall inside the residential zoning ordinance, you would have to come and bring it in front, and then conditions could be put on. You could be approved or denied, but it leaves open end for, I mean, who knows, creative businesses are all over the place now, so there's a lot of people that find creative ways.
Pam, do you think we need to speak with our attorney on these without having
No.
lists on it?
Oh, we could ask him about that.
I think
I
get
would-
a
Without a
final
list.
draft first. Get
Yeah,
a final
I
draft.
would think that either we put a list in there, or we don't put a list in there, and then we put in a question to attorney what we should do at the time, you know,
Yeah.
when we present the whole ordinance. when
Yeah,
we
I'd sooner
present it to 'em to
finalize what
review.
we think is right, and when we get done what we think is right,
Yeah.
then spend $1,000 on him.
1,000, it's gonna be a little more than that.
So, yeah.
Okay, should we move on to new business?
Question on that, where does one find the latest and greatest copy that you're gonna vote on?
I send it to Patty. I can send it to her again, or send it to you.
Are you talking about the ordinance? The zoning ordinance? It's on the website. Yep, under documents and forms. It's the latest red line draft.
And we don't have anything redlined under the mining section, right?
Yeah, we
Yep.
do.
Well, there might be,
Just the permissions
oh,
for
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
hours.
He made it easier for you to get, you
Yeah.
just need one board member permission instead of two.
Yeah.
Want Pam to just send it to you?
Yeah, I'll email you, Pam, we'll fix it.
Cool.
I'll look first if I can't find it.
Okay, it shouldn't be hard to find, but it's no problem to send it to you either.
We're still getting people using their Jake brakes.
We'll go over that with the mining permit stuff. New business.
The Holcim administrative mining permit. That's a whole big,
You want me to talk about that? Or no?
I don't care.
Have at it.
Or you can, okay. Okay, we got a little issue with this here on timeframes. They submitted it November 1st. So we got 60 days to act on it. If we don't act on it in 60 days, it's automatically granted. Unless we can come up with a reason not to, we need extra information or what other stuff, you can get another 60. Okay, so this went to the Planning Commission Monday night. Eduardo suggested they not do anything with it till their December meeting. Okay,
Why?
you'd have to ask him that.
Well, we had a hearing during the whole planning commission too, so they didn't have a lot of extra time.
No, this was just Monday night.
The meeting was about a half hour, and then they went straight into their
Okay.
planning.
Yeah,
But
Yeah,
Eduardo
I
was
do have the comment that he sent to all of us. if you want me to-
sure, go ahead.
Here. Yeah, the ordinance hearing took like 45 minutes. It was longer than that.
Could you turn it off for me, please?
It is off.
Yeah, turn it on.
Oh, okay.
Can you just leave it on then, please?
Okay, the intended extraction area of this new permit request looks to me as identical to the one in 2023, so that's all good. There are some changes in the language which we would look over, including the reclamation portion. My recommendation is that we hear the plan and take it into deliberation until next month, so we can review it in detail. I would not propose recommending it to the board for approval quite yet. We also need to review all of the existing permit conditions, confirm they have been followed, and decide which ones will be extended into next year.
Okay, so So if they don't do anything, if nothing happens with this till their next planning commission meeting, now you got 2 days till the board meeting to act on it. And you gotta have it done by January 5th. So basically, your December meeting, you have to act on it, or you gotta find a good reason to extend it 60 more days. Or they gotta agree to extend it 60 more days. So, we got a few choices here. We can do that, or Pam and myself have offered to, basically, this is pretty much a copy of the 23 permit. Not much has changed. We can transfer everything over into the administrative permit for 24, or we could talk about hiring like an SHC to draw this up again.
Is this the lower portion? Or you haven't touched these areas?
These are all lower, yeah. No new trees, all same footprint. Did you hear back from SHC, Pam? Because we had them to be on call and standby for this. Did you ever hear back from them? Because I had you reach out to them.
I think I did reach, yeah, they're fine, they're ready to go.
I mean, I think, Tom, do you have anything you want to speak to on it? Permit? Anything you want to say or anything?
No, I expected this one to go pretty smoothly considering it's nearly identical to what you approved last year.
And it's just, it's the lower shelf, right?
It's the areas on the map
Yeah.
shape.
Yep.
It's the lower shelf of what you did this year.
We're on the lower this year.
Oh, you are?
Yep.
Okay.
So we're,
On the top of the page, 2024, there's two places where they
I think there's no issue tabling, obviously, Dick, till the planning commission, and then I know I have some things I already highlighted and wrote down that just want to ask questions on, but I would do that at planning commission meeting as a public person.
You can do that. Just
We-
keep in mind, you only got 2 days then.
Yeah, I don't know, if we gotta make some changes, you gotta make some changes, if it's gotta go back, it's gotta go back, so. It
Yep.
is what it is, I'm not,
Well, you do have a
we,
deadline.
we have no action we can take tonight on it, I guess is what I'm getting at. I think the only thing would be if we wanted to approve to get SHC on board or not get them on board.
Yeah, that's kind of what I brought it for.
Yeah.
You gonna do them or have Pam do it or?
No.
Because by
No,
January
have-
5th, you gotta be done with this.
By January what?
5th.
You guys always say, like, we just don't need to get into that.
What's that?
So I personally think, I mean, it's a straightforward permit. I think SHC would be really reasonable to just do, and it's just a professional way to do business. So I think we should have them.
Yeah,
But
That's fine.
I think we'd have to have them on board for
That's fine.
after
And
discussion.
that's your annual permit here for the township?
Correct.
Okay.
So then we'd probably have to reach out to them, but we want to have discussion.
We wanna talk with them.
Yep.
Yeah.
So would we want them at the planning meeting, or would we want to have,
Oh, I'd rather that they came to a board meeting.
well, that's not where we discuss that
It
stuff.
might be a
We do
vote.
that. Yeah.
Oh.
Wait a minute.
Well, yeah.
I don't know what they did,
Well, if you want them to do it,
Well, we need to discuss first what we want for ideas, and then,
yeah, and you can't, I'm looking at the timeline on it, okay?
yeah, I'm not.
You got 60 days. If you don't do it in 60 days, it's automatic. What
Unless
they
there's
put in-
things wrong in here, then they gotta correct it, so then you can buy more time if you have to. It's not, we're working in good faith. You get it on a odd time, it's
You
not.
better read the law on it. It ain't quite that easy. You gotta have a good reason to extend it 60 days.
Okay,
Did you discuss it at that, November 28th meeting?
no, it's pretty straightforward, so I'm not too worried about timeline on it.
So when you gonna meet with SHC then? Because we got open meeting law, we gotta,
I think we'd have to email, we'll have Pam send an email out with the planning commission and see what their feedback is. They can talk amongst themselves and see what, if they want them at the meeting or if they want them after that.
What I'm getting at is,
One of us,
Is
at
we-
any point next month, after the planning and board, one of us could meet with the planning commission with SHC to make any changes that we have to change, if we needed to. If we had to set up a special meeting to approve it, we could set up a special meeting to approve it.
okay, that's kind of what I'm getting at. You
Yeah.
gotta
Yeah.
Be prepared to set up the meeting, you know. What
So
I'm
right-
getting,
right now it's
what I'm
just-
getting at is you gotta meet with SHC, tell them what you want, give them time to do it.
Yep.
And then get it back, and then we gotta have a meeting to approve it, all
Yep.
before January 5th.
Perfect. So do we all agree
Pam,
that
what do you,
bring on
what are you
SHC to
thinking?
at least write the thing?
We'll see what happens.
Okay.
I think the timeline is pretty slim.
Well, what, do you, I mean, are you trying to make a motion to approve this thing today, or what are you trying to make? What am I missing here?
No, well, I'm just pointing out
Okay.
your different options,
Yeah.
so we don't get backed into the, Tom wants something there.
The planning commission can hold meetings without 30-day
Correct.
public notice, is that correct?
No,
That's not correct?
no,
So if you wanna have SHC come in to meet with the planning commission outside of the planning commission date, it requires notice and all that.
I think a 10-day notice for them too.
Yeah. It'd be nice to try, to meet with SHC at the end of November. You'd have time for them to do some things, planning commission do some things, then you'd have a planning commission meeting early December, right?
Yeah,
And then, you know, you give yourself one more
right.
spot to think.
What if we do this? What if Pam gets ahold of SHC, find out when they're available, and we could have a special meeting? You wanna do that? I'm just trying to figure out a way for us to meet with SHC.
Why
Well,
don't
we
we just
can-
wait and see what SHC comes back with as a
We
timeline?
could turn the 28th into a special meeting after it.
Yeah. Let's see what SHC comes back with after Pam talks, then we'll figure out dates and times after
Post a
that.
special meeting?
Pardon me,
We just need to post a meeting for 2 weeks ahead of time or something?
10 days.
Yeah, so maybe we end up doing that on the 28th. Decide.
Sure.
Like you guys said. Okay, so the zoning ordinance and then after,
Do you make your life easier if you make a motion now that you're going up with that meeting, pending SHC's availability, so if they're available, it's done and it's happening?
Nah, Pam just has to call us and ask if we're all available and post it in the paper.
well, we're all available on the 28th.
Well, it'd be, yeah, we'd want to see a reply from her.
Yeah.
So that would be after the public meeting then, if SHC
Yeah.
can make it?
Probably.
And
So
you got a couple of questions I can
7
ask quick?
PM?
You got time?
Do it now, or we can do it after, whatever you like.
Well, just the,
I didn't mind you, I don't have that thing sitting in front of me.
yeah, no, but just your excavation, crushing and stuff, this is exactly how you did it this year, correct? Because it's different than our ordinance, but they approved that, yeah.
Should be what was approved.
And as far as I know, to knowledge, we had no complaints for noise or any of that stuff with any of that extra time, correct? The only complaints that have been coming in was the blasting? Because that's not trucks hauling, that's just down in the pit work, that's out of sight, out of mind.
None.
And we didn't. And then that was the only other, I was looking through our ordinance stuff and trying to figure out, your trucks haul out of the pit, do they, I mean, they should be trying to take the county road, right?
They do.
Do we? No, they don't.
Which one? Oh,
They got trucks run that all day long, but I don't know if that's in our, I couldn't find anything in our ordinance on that.
well, they're going to get sand, that's down the other end of the island.
No, they haul gravel that way.
Well, gravel, they come
Do you,
out here.
would they be hauling gravel down to the other sand pit, right? Personal trucks going, so is that reasonable to have something unless emergency to add to the, that's something that I'd wanna just add into the annual permit probably, that just to make sure that residential, or your trucks hauling in and out, they're supposed to be using the county road.
You want them to take a left out of
The-
the Larson driveway.
Isn't that where they isn't that the shorter route anyway? That's what I don't get. Or why does it seem like so many trucks go down across both bridges, the steel bridge and stuff?
Go to the lower
They're
island.
going to the lower, and then they're coming by our house at 45 miles an hour in a 35 zone, and then they're coming up the hill loaded, 1, 2, 3 in a row, just
What are they full of?
sand, I'm guessing, because they're coming off the
So
lower.
they're
They're coming back across.
I mean, pit to pit obviously has to happen.
I see them coming down Oboyle Lane.
So
I did
I
talk-
So I work from home, right? And my office faces the road. Today, I counted alone 25 red and white trucks. I got the picture, I took them, I just can't make out the name. But they're quint dump trucks, which means 38,000 pounds, 19-ton loaded bags. Okay, so that's over our road restrictions, right? The culvert itself can't handle that, and they're going across loaded. Today I counted 25 trips with just that one company in, empty, wheels are up, the 4 axles are off the ground, coming back fully loaded, they're on the ground, going the other way. So that was 50 trips past the house today, just alone. South Washington County, the orange trucks, big dump plow trucks, fully loaded coming in with the low boy and the excavator coming in today, heading south going across the culvert today, back and forth. I lost count of 25 trucks, that's another 50 round trips. So that was a 100 truck today. 7 semis today came past my house, loaded. So that's 14 round trips, 7, 14 just that. So 114 trips past my house today, loaded and unloaded. Going across that culvert, which is what, 5 ton?
Well, the culvert, that's not ours.
I understand that, but I'm pretty sure God Road would probably want to see what the damage is.
I did ask Cottage Grove, and the one guy I talked to, he wasn't their engineer, but he thought it was rated for full truck weight, but.
Well, what's a full truck plate? There's different
Yeah,
full
right,
trucks.
yeah.
Not semis,
Yep.
fully loaded, and this and that, because they're happening too.
I just,
watched them today at the pictures, I counted them, I just wanted to see. Plus, there was almost an accident today too, and here's what's happened. If you guys come out of Pioneer Road, and you come up to that stop sign, and then you're facing, going south, you're facing south, you're just gonna go out in that big bend that comes past my house. There was a guy in a Lincoln Continental, black one, stood there, he peeked, he didn't know what he was doing, you could tell. He decided to take a sharp turn, come up over that, and then go back and then start heading down Great Cloud Island, coming off Pioneer and take that sharp right, which is just an asinine thing to do. One of the red trucks that was fully loaded, the quint truck, coming up the hill, getting a steam, come up there, this guy decided to pull out and do that at the last second. That guy slammed on his horn, slammed on his brakes, and I was like going, holy shit, what was that? Looked out there and there it was. That truck just kind of took off and the truck driver was. So that was right in front of my house I wrote it down, I didn't bring it today, I'm sorry. I wrote all the times everything was going on today too.
do you know do they move a lot of materials pit to pit?
Well, there's
I didn't know.
100 trips a day.
So is that just
pit
people
to pit.
going all the way around the other way probably to get out?
If you follow those trucks coming out of Larson, they're going into Cottage Grove loaded. They're not stopping, they're not going to the.
Isn't that longer than going here and then underneath the bridge? Isn't that a longer route?
St. Paul Park, you gotta go all the way home when you guys.
Well, they can go by Geneva there or whatever,
Yeah.
cause they can
That's
take
the way they go
over.
into the love sometimes,
That's
it's
the way they're
supposed to
supposed
go.
Right,
And if they're going into Nelson, that's the way they're supposed to go in.
I guess that's something for me that we're gonna try and have on that permit is just obviously pit to pit trucks, you're gonna have a little bit, but we shouldn't have 100 trucks.
114 today.
Did you get any work done? That's a real question.
Well, no.
We won't show your employer this.
I'm trying to keep up with everything.
Yeah.
I would benefit from getting together with you for 20 minutes, standing out there
Okay.
and pointing what we're talking about.
Okay.
If you got some time in the
Yep.
next week,
Yep.
whenever you're ready, you can come out, let's talk about it.
Okay.
I'm trying to keep up here.
I guess my only other thing with Holcim on there is, I see a bunch of stakes went in the ground up north, to the north side there. Is that for that new public road?
I had survey work done for a boundary to identify property lines.
Okay,
So,
just, yeah, I didn't know if that was for public road stuff or not, just for, cause we haven't really seen anything for what it'd be. With our ordinance, we'd have to look at removal of tree stuff, just to make sure a plan for any road or any of that stuff would just be, looked at together, so.
Amy,
Thank you.
you got
Yeah, I
something?
just had one other thing which will kind of tie in with what Eric said. I started working from home full-time on Friday, and again, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, the trucks, and they are going fast. I did email Tom, but then in addition, I called Washington County and I said, can we just get a speed limit thing? And I actually got a voicemail today that they're gonna probably come out by our houses and put something out there. It'll just be good for the trucks to know. And I know another neighbor of mine had called because they're going way over the speed limit, and they're big trucks.
Just, we all know they're not your trucks, Tom, they're private, so we appreciate you answering your emails and calls, and yeah, it is what it is.
I'm ready to, I mean,
Yeah.
I think we should just call the sheriff and ask him to set up shop there in the
Right,
or whatever.
yeah, nope, it is,
They're gonna do something.
And flag every single one of them that goes by.
Yeah.
I don't support it either, so.
Yep, right, and we appreciate the
Well,
complaints.
don't you
get.
tell most of them to go north out of your pit here? Isn't that kind of a standard operation, has been?
Yeah, that's on the.
It doesn't matter what way they're going, they're speeding.
Yeah, well, I'm,
Well, it does matter.
yeah, well.
Could we, well, yeah, we'll talk about that sidebar, yep,
Let's get that.
Yep.
together.
okay.
One other thing on your operations plan, Tom, on the times, you got my email on the times? Because when Patty submitted this 2024 operations plan, it said we approved these hours that she had in here, and we didn't approve all them hours. What we approved was the mining on Saturday from 7 to noon. And all the, you read that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, because what she had there was not accurate, actually, so, just so you seen that. And then on that, changing that road up there, you guys dealing with the county on that too? That moving that Jasper Lane to get a permit where it comes out on the county road? Because you'll need a permit, whatever you do up there, to come out on the county road.
I will need a permit with the county, correct?
Yeah.
That would have to go with, we'd have to see that too, that's what I was talking with, yeah. Other unfinished business. Oh, we're not there yet. Here we go. Resolution.
I thought we adopted that several years ago.
It's back.
Okay,
Well, I'll make a motion to adopt the Washington County All Hazard Mitigation.
I'll
Plan.
second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The Schulte permit.
I make a motion to approve the Schulte permit
I'll
as
s-
recommended by the planning commission.
Yep, I'll second that motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 And Dick, you got D.
Dan,
I think I'm gonna do it.
Dan was gonna do that.
I'll make a motion to appoint Eric to the planning commission.
I'll second that.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah.
Welcome to the gauntlet.
All in favor, say aye.
Yeah.
Did you guys say aye?
Yeah,
Did you guys vote? Okay.
Okay, then I had one other thing for other that I wanted to bring up, I guess. Pam, kind of for you maybe. We've got a lot of vehicles just sitting around this place, and I was wondering about signage, if we could reach out to the county to add a couple more no parking signs as you come up that bridge there. Just add more no parking signs along the county road, because there's been cars sitting there and there's just no reason for cars to sit
On
there.
an S-curve?
After
What?
the bridge coming up towards here where it straightens out.
Just as you crest the hill by.
Yeah, you crest the hill there, like in front of
Really?
Jeff's place, between the bridge and Jasper Lane, I guess, there's just been,
Can I make a recommendation on that instead of just more, they'll just drive that little bit, 50 feet past that last one. What if at the first sign past the bridge, we say, no public parking next 3 miles?
that's where we'd have to reach out for the,
Just-
county-
well,
it's county road.
There is no parking all along until.
I mean, it'd be preferred to just ask the county to have a no parking on the county road, something like that, but,
Something where they can't just drive past that last sign and say, oh, there wasn't a sign here.
Okay.
The sheriff said, yeah, a guy fought me on it for 20 minutes because I drove past where the last.
Yeah.
Can you help me?
We got an ordinance, no parking within right-of-way of roadways within the township, any of them.
Yeah.
So what?
so we need to give that to the sheriff.
At that first one, what if it said, no parking either side of the road next 3 miles, or whatever that mileage is.
Well, we should,
To get you off.
we should really have a sign up there that matches our ordinance. In fact, when you come into the township up by Tucker's, I think there's a sign there that says, no, isn't there one
It's just,
by your house?
maybe it gets confusing then because they see, like Jeff said, they see a no parking sign, and then they quit. So then they're just parking.
That's what I'm
So
saying.
it either needs to be more signs or one clear
We
one.
need a clear one that says no parking within right of way or roadway.
I think also,
within Gray Cloud.
like when you see more signs, it helps people see it and stare at it, and it's a visual thing. Cause my other recommendation was gonna be on Jasper Lane. That's like our road, right?
No.
Or not?
No.
That's Holcim's?
That's not a road.
So I don't know,
That's-
maybe we could just
That's a fake
purchase
sign.
some no parking signs to just put on Jasper Lane, or you guys could just throw some up, cause people just sit down there and all that, you see all the debris you gotta get rid of. But I feel like if they got called in and they're sitting there, then a cop can just write them a ticket and people will quit parking there, hopefully.
That's somebody's driveway.
Yeah, but they park there all the time
They
and
park in the driveway?
Yeah,
they park on Jasper Lane all the time, and if you drive down it, there's trash all
that's
over the place.
Holcim.
So I just-
Holcim owns that.
They do, but it's a driveway right at the moment.
Just take that sign down. It's not.
Well, it says private driver, I think it says, don't you have a big,
Put
they-
a sign there, private drive, don't.
what's happening is
Yeah.
they're going down it, and people are just sitting there nonstop, whether they're doing whatever, but there's just no reason to be parked back there at all. Yeah, they just go back and hide, yep, and just sit there. So and a cop, they just come and they don't issue a ticket, and that's something for us to, I mean,
Why don't they?
because they just shoo them out of there, it's not illegal to park there or whatever.
Well, it's
I don't
private
know.
property.
Yeah,
Yeah, so then how come they don't get tickets?
so we need
But
a
the-
private property sign, and then they can get tickets.
Oh, wait, I got a problem putting signs on private property.
Well, I think that's somebody.
If it's
we gotta
private
talk to
property,
somebody
let
else
the
about-
private property owner buy the signs, Tom.
Well, the street sign or whatever you wanna call that sign should be removed anyway because they think it's a legal street.
Right, they think it's a road, a township road, because it looks like one.
Well, I think no matter what, people
Well,
are gonna, but I guess that's all I was looking at. And
Well,
whether
again,
it's-
that'd be for Tom and Ted to tear the sign out if they want.
I don't know, it's just,
But if we're gonna put up parking signs, the problem is you put up a sign, people think, well, once they get past the signs, I can park.
that's what's going on right now.
Yeah, so we need the signs there that say no parking within right of way or roadway, Gray Cloud Township.
And then
That
we
means
yeah.
everywhere.
So then that's something we just need to, we might have to just,
No parking anywhere.
we might have
Well,
to
I think it is
send
pretty
a,
much. You can't park on the roads.
Well,
In
we'll have
the
to
township.
we have an ordinance on that.
Yeah.
Have
so
to
we
dig
should,
it out.
maybe we just need to do a courtesy email to our sheriffs, just so they know, cause then they should write a warning or whatever right away.
Well, we should probably put up some new signs that
Yep.
are nicer,
Yep,
more clear.
Can I be just, I
Sure.
wanna make doubly sure that I understand what you're talking about. So if I'm coming from my house, Dan,
yep.
and I'm coming up the S curve, is it like right after the S
Cross
curve?
the bridge, you take the left there, and then from the top of that ridge to Jasper Lane. They
All the
just
way
keep,
to-
there's
just to
there's two no parking signs, and then it
And you
just
need them on both
quits.
sides of the road?
No, they don't really park them, yeah. But they just get
So
past it,
Just the side of the road that Jasper Lane is on,
I think,
right?
yeah.
Our
So both
ordinance
sides.
says no parking.
Yeah, what's it say, Amy?
1957, no person shall stop
Hey, it
except
still
to receive
works.
or discharge passengers, park or leave unattended, except for the purpose of emergency, any motor vehicle at any time on any road within the limits of the town.
We can get our own signs.
Yeah,
Any person violating this shall be punished by a fine of not more than $100 or by imprisonment for not more than 90 days.
I'd suggest we put up new,
That's October 1957.
I'd suggest instead of putting up no parking signs, we put up 3 new signs if we don't have legible ones at the 3 entrances to the township. And if you wanna plop a couple more up by Jeff's house, do that. Because no parking signs just mean no parking where they're at. The sign says no, what Amy said there. and then
parking anywhere.
Yeah, now you got the ordinance. And if you look, I think our entrances all have them, but they might be beat up.
But that ordinance reads, if people get out of their car and leave it parked.
No,
Well, they're doing that.
Well, they are.
Yeah,
We're just dropping off somebody.
That's the
Yeah.
only reason.
You can stop for a second to let somebody else
Yeah.
talk.
all right, so we can brew on that a little bit, and then my, one other,
What are we doing then?
Well,
Are we doing the 3 signs? Or
should
are we
we,
doing the 3
should we
signs
just
plus the-
think about that, and then maybe I'll have a plan for the next planning commission meeting,
Sure,
and then we can
in the
figure out.
meantime, we can see
Yeah,
what's out
yep.
there right now.
So we'll take a look and we'll
You got
regroup that
anything
next week.
else on the other?
So then, hey, here's, my only other thing is that strip down by Moore's Lake that's in Cottage Grove, that's where everybody parks,
Oh, yeah, Joe Alley.
that's part of county park, right? Or what is that?
Oh, between the bridge and the culvert?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's county park on both sides.
well, I'm talking from the culvert, the concrete culvert to the hill climbing, where all the gravel is on the side there.
Yeah,
I would like to send, I think it'd be that's county property, I believe.
yeah, I think, yeah.
I would like to send something to the county and see if, hey, this is part of your county park. This parking should close at dusk like your parks do. Because like, I drove by there at 11 o'clock or whatever the other night, and there's like 15 cars sitting down there. And there's like nothing good that comes of that. And I don't think there's a reason to congregate. You can go watch the sunset, do whatever, but I think sending something like that to the county would be nice to try and, then they'd be able to patrol them. We don't need people just sitting down there.
Well,
So I thought, so when I talked to Bailey and those guys, I thought they said that parking lot was theirs. Cause they got their own garbage cans out there, they leased it. I
So we
thought-
could reach out to Cottage Grove instead too then, yeah.
I definitely.
I think we should just encourage closing that down at dark, because that's how any park would be.
They race and they.
All summer.
They look
Yeah.
and they race, it's
You hear
unbelievable.
them start them up down there and then they come flying by.
They do burnouts and
Oh,
they
yeah.
fly up that hill and, I mean, it's ridiculous.
Then they come down for a class.
Yeah, then they
On Pioneer Road, going about 50 miles an hour or faster.
So what they do is they sit down there at the bottom of that park and they time each other. They take off, they go up the hill down Pioneer and they go around Great Cloud Island and they tag up back there. They time them. Oh, you got such and such time. That's what they did. I found that out and the sheriff has been on them and pretty much stopped them for a while, but now they're.
Well,
that happens over,
What do you think, Pam? You clear on that one? Email Cottage Grove then maybe? Or-
Okay.
Yeah, we can talk after
Did you hear
too,
me okay?
Yes, I could. If not, I'll call you.
We've become pretty good friends lately.
I thought they had some hours restricted after 10 o'clock, you couldn't park.
I'm sure, it's just not posted, yeah. Yeah. Is there anything else? New
Yeah.
business other?
yeah, I want to make a motion to remove Eduardo from the planning commission. If I get a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
No.
Aye.
Nay.
Why would you do that? Like that, someone who cares about the community, like that,
I'm not going to get into that with all these people,
well,
but,
you should really, like.
well, okay, I
I
can.
mean,
Okay,
he cares, and I think that, I don't know. maybe-
okay, I can give you a
We
few
finally
things.
have someone who really cares about the township and is trying to make changes. Like, if you do that, I don't know.
I feel like we should.
Because someone has different opinions
Can
than you?
I speak quick?
Sure.
I think we should withdraw that and then have just a rational discussion. I feel it's important to have different views from everybody in the township. I get we all don't see eye to eye, I get all that stuff, and I think that's good as long as we handle it in an adult manner, I guess, but to just remove somebody that puts a lot of time and effort in, I 100% disagree with that. And I think there's other avenues, or there's easier avenues, but I think we just broke down a system that, right here, we just had our ordinances. We have a lot of people on the planning commission that say, hey, we need to redo our ordinances, and we need to hire somebody or look at doing something like that.
2 people.
That doesn't mean, and two, just a couple. And I said, hey, I think I said it earlier, we all agreed that our ordinances need work on it. But just having a voice to say, we need to spend money, Eduardo has never came here and said that. He said he wants some work done, if somebody else wants to do it, I'm not a professional, nobody else is. That shouldn't relay into getting kicked off a thing. We as a board would have to approve spending the money. I've never been under the assumption to spend $8,000, $10,000, $15,000 to redo our ordinances at this time. I'm all for adjusting our fees per what they kinda did and stuff to try and recouping some stuff. I know we've already made, changes to our budget for how our permits and all that go into different thing. But if somebody wants like a Woodbury 2.0, like that's fine if somebody wants that, but that doesn't mean the residents are all here, they showed up tonight, they're all speaking, and majority's gonna rule. So I don't think one person being that way, I think that statement should be withdrawn, in my opinion, or the second, or whatever you guys gotta do. But
It sounds like to me that he's probably the troublemaker that's snooping around in everybody's properties here.
I would say I without showing up to planning commissions and stuff and hearing discussion, I guess it'd be hard to sit on that side and have discussion. In my opinion, people can say whatever they want, but we don't go walk properties, we don't call stuff, we handle off if we get a written complaint, we send our code enforcement out, and our code enforcement is the one that gives us a report on it, and then we act on that.
Okay.
Well,
I'm one of the property owners that got this notice.
Okay?
I talked to the code guy, whatever.
Yeah.
Code enforcer. Okay, today, and I said.
What was your property?
What?
Sorry, what's your property? What's your last name, or what's your property?
Stone.
Stone, okay, yep.
I talked to him today, and I said, all of these pictures that were sent to me, how many of them did you take and how many did someone else take? He said, I took 2 pictures of your property. It was a little red car, which I have had removed. That was in the process before I ever got there. And then he had a picture of another vehicle. Okay, where did the other ones come? Somebody else is minding my business on my property. If I want a hoe and a shovel sitting by my front door, it's my business. It's not theirs. It's not anybody else's business.
And respectfully, right, I mean no means, okay? Everybody has differences of opinions, right?
All right,
So
don't come
we
and tell
got,
me how to live.
and so you had a couple vehicles that were unregistered, and it sounds like you took care of them.
Okay.
Has anybody, we haven't done any more pressure, we haven't put any pressure to remove your hose and shovels, to do any of that stuff. So if a person in the community says, hey, you know what, there's some vehicles, there's some different things going on, and they feel it's a concern, there was a violation with a couple vehicles, we addressed the major things that we felt, and then the rest is
Those pictures are of all the front of my,
and everybody has a right. It doesn't mean that we have to agree on it or we have to do any of that, but
don't come on my property and tell me what to do. That's what I'm trying to say.
if somebody trespassed your property, you can call them in. If somebody took pictures from the road as a complaint.
When I wasn't home, so how do I do that?
And just
And
being
then
respectfully.
They're gonna deny taking the picture because the pictures that I got, that Tracy fellow, he said he didn't take those extra pictures. So, people need to mind their own business. It seems like when we get new people out living around here, there's always somebody that's got bigger and better ideas. Now, we live out in the country, I've been here 50 years. And many of these other ones have been here just as long, but you get some newbies that come out here, well, gee whiz, we're in a little development, we have to have all these little, it's almost like a gated community. I mean, come on.
I'll tell you that the opinion that you have right there is pretty equal to all 3 of us. We want low government, we want you to be able to do what you want to do, we want to be able to do that, but I'd also encourage you as a lifelong resident that's been here, there is room on a planning commission, there is room on these things.
I'm 82 years
And
old.
I understand, I understand, but you also get new people that come in and they might think something different, and if we don't keep an eye or keep track or have your voice heard, then, the majority rules. So that's what I have to say on it, but
Well, I'll read what I sent to the other
I'm
2,
disappointed.
to the other board members. Okay? Town clerk and board, I feel my job on the board is to represent what the majority of the residents want, not just 1 or 2 with self-agendas. I feel most residents want less government, lowest possible cost, maintain roads, and the ability to use their property as they want without negatively affecting the rest of the township. This is also my goal. This has also been the policy of past boards. Only intervene when necessary, keep costs reasonable, and deal with situations that need attention. And this has been done on a needed basis under discretion. And I put in there Tucker, Endress, Moe, Kaiser, Stone, and so forth. Our current planning commissioner, Eduardo, does not reflect my goals as a board member. In fact, we're about 90% totally opposite. He publicly stated he and I agree on almost nothing. He wants to raise the fees on a few to cover the costs of code enforcement and non-compliant properties. Cost no option. He's many times stated that we need to get our ordinances in order and raise the fees to go after non-compliant properties. He stated it's not unreasonable if someone has a home hair salon making $40,000 a year, they could pay $1,000 a year in a permit fee. The town board, clerk, residents, and planning commission all worked together quite well until he got on the planning commission. Since then, there has been much dissension. He has stated his house should be worth $850,000, but isn't due to the condition of neighboring properties. He has complained about properties on Pioneer Road, but not the houses, 2 houses down from him with the same violations as the one he has filed complaints about. But he hasn't complained about that house. Why? He has only filed complaints on properties on Pioneer Road and one on Island Drive. What about all the other similar ones in the township? He states our zoning ordinances are a total mess, which they're not. The clerk will attest to that. He has publicly criticized our clerk, myself, and the board for not doing what he wants. He has threatened the board with court action if we don't enforce our zoning regulations in regard to non-compliant properties. He sat here and did that right at a public meeting, that we must enforce our ordinances. And we told him, no, he's, yes, you do, and if you don't, I'm taking you to court. Okay? He filed a complaint and photos on his neighbor next to him, said he was operating a business, sent pictures of a backhoe and a truck sitting in the yard, when actually the neighbor was putting in a septic system. In my opinion, Eduardo lobbied to get on the planning commission to satisfy a self-serving agenda, clean up non-compliant properties, start with Pioneer Road. Okay, he states our ordinances are a total mess. I've done lots of reading in other communities' ordinance, and all of them you need to do way more searching to find what you want and looking at the township's ordinance. You can read all our ordinances in about an hour. Only 3 people complained about the condition of our ordinances. The sheriff, I talked about that before, myself, and Eduardo. He wants them all rewritten, cost no option, raise fees on certain residences, permits to cover the cost. He's repeatedly said that. We need to raise fees in order to clean up our ordinances, to hire somebody. At the Planning Commission meeting 10/10/23, Eduardo started out stating the fact, Board Member Polta on his own removed 7 items for permitted uses and they're gone. He was incorrect in demeaning. A few items were gone, like feedlots, and other items were moved to conditional uses or interim uses. He didn't mention he had several months or maybe over a year to rewrite this ordinance and hasn't. He didn't mention the objective of doing this now, why we were doing the thing. He made it out that I was just doing it all on my own. Okay, the reason we're doing it, he didn't mention it was because of Holcim, future use, and he didn't mention dialogue had been going on between the planning commission members, board members, county planners, himself, clerk, and myself on the ordinance. We're at this meeting to review and amend what I had written. What did he accomplish on the noise ordinance? He had several months to draft a noise ordinance and didn't get it done. Only after several months of it being discussed with little results and lots of complaints, I finished writing up the ordinance presented to the planning commission for review and onto the board for adoption. At the board meeting in 9/13/23, he again criticized the ordinances. And after some discussion, he said he would get prices and information on redrafting our ordinances. At the 10/11/23 board meeting, he again criticized our ordinances. When asked about the information he offered to get on 9/13/23 on firms to redo our ordinance, he said he got nothing. He has work to do. He's got a real job in the daytime. He doesn't have time, then verbally attacked the clerk. And then he was demeaning to our clerk. He is very good at giving orders and criticism to others, but doesn't actually complete any tasks on his own. In my opinion, he has one agenda. He wanted to get on the, he lobbied to get on the planning commission with the following goals. Get all the properties to his standards at any cost, get zoning codes written to accomplish this, threaten the board with legal action to accomplish what he wants. Need some water. Yeah. Government and business create commissions and work groups to work in harmony with the appointees of the groups. The created groups should represent the objectives of the appointees. Eduardo's objectives and mine have little in common. He wants more and higher fees, more regulation to create dissension among neighbors, clean up properties he dislikes the condition of, and spend whatever it takes to accomplish this. I want to keep business as usual, only interfere when needed, fees enough to cover the township's cost of the application. I cannot in good faith continue to support an appointee in the planning commission who doesn't do what they offered, threatens the board with legal action if he doesn't get what he wants, and is demeaning to the board and the clerk. Seeing Eduardo's and my objectives and the ability to work together has reached its limit, I will at the next board meeting make a motion to remove Eduardo from the planning commission. Failing a second, someone else can represent the board on the planning commission. That's why I want to remove it.
I don't agree. You can say what you wanna say,
Hang on.
I don't think, I think we all worked well together.
How
and
many-
I think you and him. had
How many members do we have on the planning commission?
4 now,
4 now?
Well,
Oh,
5.
5?
5 now. Yeah, we lost Caleb White
So
on
basic,
Monday.
basic math tells me if you got 1 outlier and 4 other people, you're always gonna have a majority. So 1 person cannot dictate any particular thing that comes out of that planning commission as a voice. I also know we have 3 board members up on here. So again, 1 person cannot dictate an outcome. They can certainly have an opinion, it can certainly be different or alike at some times. To the ordinance things, what I would say is the entire planning commission not doing anything wasn't not doing anything. They all said this isn't our specialty of line of work. We want to hire somebody or look into hiring somebody to help write ordinances. And us up here looked at the finance thing, and Dick, you took a lot of it to just start writing it yourself, and then they went through an entire meeting of going through it with us when we wrote it and made corrections. So I would just say that not doing work is not necessarily not doing work. You had people on a planning commission that they don't write ordinances and they didn't want to, and they were very vocal that it wasn't their line of work and they didn't want to do it. But that's all I'll say on it, and Paul, it sounds like it's up to you guys to figure your stuff out.
I would like to ask all the planning commission members here,
There's only 1.
well, you are,
There's 2.
yeah. Amy, what do you think?
Yeah, I disagree, and, I mean, there's times where you're unprofessional, you are in a public role, and you
Yeah.
need to be in a public role, you can't act like that, and so I disagree, and I'll say goodbye now if you're gonna act like that, and I'll be.
What do you mean act like that?
I mean, just, like, you know, you guys disagree that you disagree, but I didn't agree with a lot of that stuff that you said in your letter, and I've been at every meeting. Just because you may not agree with Eduardo, but he has invested a lot, he has done a lot, he puts a lot into that. And I know the last meeting things got heated, but I feel like everyone had a part, it wasn't just him. And so, I mean, you wanted this position, you have to work with everybody in all different types of personalities. He is from another country, he does sometimes come across that way, but I don't think that's his intention. That's my opinion about it, but he is vested, and if you're gonna do that, good luck to get anyone who will put in the time that he has put in. And like I said, if you do that, I'll probably be done, I mean, honestly.
Well,
I don't have the time to put in the work that he does.
Okay, with what Amy said, I would like to withdraw my second.
And I would just like to, one more thing, the other night, when you can't do this in a public role, there's one person who doesn't like and is causing the problems. That's not okay, you have to be a little bit more, that's just not okay. Throwing someone under the bus, he wasn't here. And then maybe do this when he's here.
I would have
Would
done
you
it if
have
he-
done that when he was here?
You bet.
Okay.
Yeah, after the last meeting when he attacked Pam, he's threatened us with legal action, yes.
I haven't heard any of the threatening of legal action.
Yeah, he did that, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, he did. Me and him are on a totally separate page. I would venture to say if somebody that worked for him,
There's no reason to discuss that any
Okay.
further. Paul, do you
All
want
right.
to carry on with your, and
Okay.
one thing for the record that I would say is our process is to have anonymous complaints come in. So an anonymous complaint should be an anonymous complaint, but Paul, it's your
well, he withdrew his second.
Okay.
I withdrew my
Okay.
second.
Well, then one of you other two can be the representative on the from the town board and the planning commission.
I can do that.
Okay.
Or do you want to do that, Dan?
I would be willing to. We would have to do modified starts depending on my coaching schedule, but if you need to have a consistent thing and you want to do it, that would be perfectly fine.
I can do it. I'll call for an adjournment.
Second?
All in favor? say
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.